All right, today we're going to be learning our first Scratch program. If you have not logged in, please make sure you go over and you sign in. I use my first name, last name, and my old room number. You guys can use whatever username. I suggest you use your Desert Sands, your MyDS account as your email. You can use whatever username, make it appropriate. And then your password, as long as you remember it, that's not going to affect me because when you turn in your work, you'll just share it with me. To get started, we're going to click on our Create button. And once we have our Create button started, it will load up and we're going to create a new program and we're going to call it Spiral Art. And then once you have it set up, over here on the left-hand side, these are going to be all your controls. Before we get going, though, we're going to add a couple of things. First thing we want to add is under here is our pen. So once again, that's going to be in the bottom left-hand corner. It says Add Extensions. You click on that. Second one in is your pen. These are other things that we can add, but that's where we'll start with today, with just our pen. That'll give you all these tools that that add to it. We also want to add a couple of variables to get started. So the first variable we want to add, so we click on the word variables over here. It's the orange colored one. And we're going to click Make a Variable. And we want that word to be shapes. And that's all you have to do. Type in the word shapes and say OK. And then we want to make another variable. And we want to call that the sides. So that's going to be the sides of our drawing. Okay. And now we can go ahead and get started because we have all our things that we need. So everything begins with events. The first event is going to be when the flag is clicked. So here's your flag. When you click it, it's going to get started. If you don't have shapes and slides on yours, don't worry about it. You will get them as you type in the words. And then the next thing we want to go to is, so once we get ours going, we want it to hide so we don't see it the whole time showing up. So if you scroll down, you get to the word hide, you just click it, drag it, and drop it. Make sure they're touching. Next, we want to go to our motion. Our first motion is going to go to X and Y axis. So we want our X and Y axis to be set at 0, 0. So that's the origin. So that's the starting point at 0, 0. And then we want it to point in a direction. So if we go down here, it says point in the direction of 90. Just leave that the way it is. That's perfect. And then finally, when we go to our pen, we want it to erase everything so it doesn't repeat on top of itself. So as you start all over and you begin a new one, it erases all the old stuff. Now, to get to the controls, so our first control is going to be repeat. And we're going to drag our repeat. And we're going to take our word shape. So if we go back to variables and it says shapes, you can drag that shape and drop it right inside that box. And then we'll go to another control, which will also be repeat. And we're going to actually put that repeat inside of the other one. And we're going to grab our sides. And we're going to grab and drop right inside of there. Now, to get our motion going, we'll go back to our pen. And the first thing we want to do is have our pen go down. So we click and we drag. We're going to go into the second one right here in between those. And we want the pen to go down. And then we want to change the color of our pen. So change pen color right here. And we want to change it. We want it to attach right underneath of the pen. And we want it to change by 10. So that's good the way it is. And then we want to set the pen size. So the very last one is set the pen size. Let's set it to 3. You can play around with that as you do the steps. Now, the next thing we want to do is to our motion. And we want to move. And we're going to tell it to move. And our movement is going to be 50 steps. All right. I'm going to stop right there, and then we'll continue with the second half.